And it looks like we're live. All right, I'm just gonna wait a couple seconds. Make sure everything is working correctly. All right. I've shared this out to a few locations, so I'm just gonna give you guys a moment. I know it's getting close to lunchtime, so I don't know how many people are gonna be able to come on, but this is gonna be recorded. So you can always go back and you can watch the recording if you didn't make it here on the live stream. I'm going to be painting a very small one today. You can see by the size canvas behind me. And if I get this one finished today, which I think I will, it's actually going to be part of an exhibit that I'm setting up this afternoon. And I'll tell you a little bit more about that. But a little bit of housekeeping. I did post that in order for me to see your comments, if you're looking from Facebook, please go to streamyard.com/Facebook and give StreamYard permission to show your comments. And I think they're going to ask you for access to your Facebook name and picture, basically, so that your comments can be shown here in StreamYard, which is where I'm streaming from. I'm streaming to Facebook as well as to YouTube, so several of you should be able to see. I normally would see the comments coming from YouTube, but sometimes if you don't give Facebook permission, I won't be able to see your Facebook comments. And I love to, communicate back and forth with my viewers. So please go ahead and give StreamYard permission to show your comments from Facebook. Let me show you a couple of things that I finished recently. I don't know if you were here for the previous live painting that I did, but let me just share that, the completed. This one is slightly bigger. It isn't on canvas. It's on a very thick paper, so it will be framed before it's exhibited. But this is the one called Kissed by the Sunset, and I actually did a poem that's also inspired by this painting. So I can share that link, and I will also connect the link where I was painting this one at the end of this particular live stream, so you can go back and watch that if you weren't here for this particular live. There's another one I wanted to share with you, and I think I'm going to do a demo on this one to kind of give you an idea of how I create people or the representation of people. This one I call the power couple, and you can see that it's a man and a woman, but it's done in my particular style of painting. So I think if you're interested, I'll do a demo on how I create people, and maybe also do a paint with me a paint with me episode where you can paint along and create maybe a woman or a guy or a couple. It's entirely up to you. But I usually like to start off people with just a simple one where it's usually a woman. So those two, let me go ahead and move those. There's another one that I'm working on, or the one that I'll do after this one is finished. But let me show you, if you want to paint along with me, which I think I will do a paint along for this one that I'm doing today, but I'm not doing the paint along today. I'm going to actually paint it, and then later on I will do a paint along. So I'll give you enough time to go ahead and get your materials together. And I'm using a small canvas. This is 14 by 14. 14 inches by 14 inches, but I went to the Dollar Tree and I picked up some foam board. This is just a heavy piece of foam board, and this is a much bigger. You can paint it the full size, or you can simply draw out the 14 by 14 square and paint it in the middle. That's an option. So you need, and this is $1. Actually, no, this was 50 cents because they're 2 for $1. So your heavy foam board is 2 for $1, so that's 50 cents right there. And then you need some painter's tape to kind of mark off the size that you want. So this is $1. You will need a pencil. You need a permanent marker, and this I think was $1 from the Dollar Tree as well. And of course, you'll need some paints, and I will tell you the colors that you'll need because I'm going to teach you how to mix certain colors that you don't necessarily have. And you can find a lot of colors at the Dollar Tree as well. So you don't have to go and invest in a bunch of paints from Michael's, like I mentioned before, unless you want to, because some of them from Michael's are usually about $1.25. So if you want to do that, you can, and I'll tell you the colors that I'm going to be working with. Another thing that you need is a palette to put your paints in. Now they do have these palettes that space of 6 at the Dollar Tree, and I think it comes in a packet of 3, so you can get 3 of these for $1. Or another thing I like to do is just simply get an ice cube tray, and you can put your paints. I mean, ice cube trays have what, I think 12. I don't even know, but they have quite a few spaces for paint, right? So you can use an ice cube tray. You can use styrofoam plates. I mean, I don't really care for using those unless you're going to rinse them off and then reuse them. But an ice cube tray is perfectly fine. Getting the pack of the 3 pallets, that's perfectly fine. So you're looking at maybe $6 for the basic stuff, and then if you're going to invest in a bunch of paints, of course, that's probably going to run you, if you want to get 12 colors, probably $12. So you're looking at about $19-$20 in material, but you won't use all of the paints, so you have paint left over to do something else, to create something else. All right, so let me see what else I wanted. So I showed you the materials. Oh, at the end of this, actually later on this afternoon, I'm going to be going to the Rose Bar restaurant of Tampa, and I will be putting up a small exhibit of my work there, which for exhibit, but also for sale. So if you live in the Tampa Bay area, or Orlando, and you're within a few hours driving, please feel free to stop by. It's at the Rose Bar restaurant in Tampa, Florida. So let's get to painting. This is the little one that I'm going to be doing. I already have it pre-drawn. Let me bring it closer. Make sure you can see it. But it's the floral one that was on the link that I sent out. So what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to highlight it using a permanent marker so you can actually see it. And this is a very simple one. That way you can think you can see it. Yeah. So I usually pre-draw in pencil, and then I go in and just highlight using the permanent marker. Can you see that? Yeah. And I usually invest in quite a few permanent markers because I use them quite a bit. I did get a big one from the Dollar Tree, and it did not work. So I would just rather go ahead and get a few of these. These are the Sharpie, and it's a medium point. And you can get the large point as well, works just as well, because I like to use them for cutting in all of the drawings that I do. This is actually a painting I've done before, but on a much larger scale. It was actually the size of the ones that I showed you earlier, but that one sold previously, so I decided it's a fairly simple design. So I think this is one that everybody should be able to draw. And you don't necessarily have to do the design that I do. I can show you how to take any flower that you want to draw and basically use the colors that I'm using and get your own painting. Right, so that's basically what I want to do for the paint along, is to have you guys just come up with a flower that you want to paint, and you just use the colors that I'm working with. It's very, very simple. Or I can just simply show you how to draw this particular one. Let me bring it a little bit closer. So all I've done is just outlined using the permanent marker. And now I'll start to add some color. Just I'll show you the colors that I'm using. I'm going to start off with red first, since that's the predominant color. So I have red, I have orange in here, and some blue and black. And then I have another shade of red in this palette as well, which will be done with highlights. Let me show you the brushes I'm going to be using. I've got various sizes, partly because, you know, save me time having to wash. So I've got various sizes of brushes here. And I've got all of my water. I've got 3 containers of water, one to wash it out, another one to rinse it out really well, and a third one to just make sure that all the residue of the color is out. So you really only need 2 containers of water, but I tend to use 3 just in case the brush isn't washed properly. But I have so many brushes that I usually, you know, don't even worry about washing them too well. All right, so I'm going to start off with a fairly big brush first, just to kind of get a lot of the color put on the palette. Tara says, thank you. I love this. I appreciate this so much. Hugs. Hi, Tara. How are you doing? I'm glad to see you. So here, I'm probably going to have to hold the painting since it's or hold the canvas since it's small. And I'm just going to start to cut in color. I'm hoping that you guys can see this because I know I literally have about 14 inches of space in between. So I'm really hoping that it's not too far away. If it is, I can try to bring it a little bit closer. And all I'm doing is simply putting down foundation work. You'll hear me say that a lot. So just building up on the foundation. And notice I'm not really being a perfectionist here. With this particular style, you just get the paint on and then you do the detail work later. Under here is actually going to be a little bit darker, so I'm going to bring in slightly darker color, and I did not change my brush. I simply dipped it into another color. Under the plant is a little bit darker under here. I'm going to take that same color and just start adding into I'm going to let that sit for a little bit just so it dries a little rather than create mud on the canvas. And then I'm going to go ahead and start to add in some color around the sides. So I'm going to put this in the water and grab another brush. I'm going to add in some blue around here at the 4 corners. It's kind of washed out. Add a little bit more color here. I've had some of these paints for a while, and sometimes if they sit there and you don't use them, they get kind of watery, or they get really, really thick. No really in between. Okay. And I like to paint the edges as well. That way, you know, you don't necessarily have to frame these. Some people still like to frame the canvases, but when I paint the edges, there's no need to put a frame on there because you see the art from all angles, and including the bottom. So I'll paint the bottom last. Hi, Krista. Love, love, love your style and spirit. Thank you. Krista, I have for some power pole, or for the you know, for the, some sculptures that I'm working on. I've gotten so many sketches in my sketchbook. I need to place an order with you because I have to get these ideas out of my head and start creating them. But I've got the sketches and you'll absolutely love them. For those of you who don't know, Krista actually taught me how to work with a textile hardener called Powerpole, and I also work with another version called PowerTex. I don't think I've ever shared my sculptures with you, but I do have a few. Maybe I'll do that at the end since I know Krista is on. I have one that I will share with you and show you what those look like, but they really look like bronze sculptures. And I've done a couple live streams. Those take a little bit longer, but I did do a live stream showing how I created a mermaid. So I can also pin that at the bottom of this live stream, and I will also tag it onto the YouTube video when I'm finished here. But if you'd like to see me do one of those, then just let me know. But I would have to get some more material because I'm completely out of that particular material. So Krista, good to see you because you just jogged my memory. I need to place an order with you. And Krista is an amazing teacher. An amazing teacher. I got certified to work with that material through her, I want to say maybe 8 years ago. Let me just cut this one. And like I said, right now I'm just adding foundation. Just some foundation color while that dries. All right, let me drop this in some water and we'll get some green added onto the stems. Let's see. I need a bigger brush. Give me a second while I rinse out my brushes. But thank you guys for coming and spending a few moments with me. You know what? I forgot something. Let me just run over here and grab my rag that I used to dry my brushes. That's the other thing you're going to want to have, either paper towels or just an old rag. And I just give a gentle squeeze and it removes all of the excess water. All right, so let me go ahead and start adding some greens around the leaves and the stem. I have two shades that I'm using. One is called Kelly Green and one is called Bluegrass Green. You don't necessarily need to get all of these shades of green unless you really want to. It's entirely up to you. But it does add for, you know, variation in the color. I do a lot more detail on the sides after I'm finished with the painting, but I like to at least rub the excess paint onto the edges while I'm working. All right, we put that in wash, and I'll grab another one. And don't forget, if you're watching from Facebook, give StreamYard permission to show your comments. That way I'm able to see them here on StreamYard. All right, let's add a little bit of color here. Set that there. I'm adding in some orange. I really should let this part dry a little bit more before I add in these highlights, but I think right now it's working. Because I don't like to create mud. Usually if you don't let something dry properly and then you put another color, you can sometimes create a muddy look. I think it's working right now. Okay, I'm going to start darkening up some areas to kind of let the flower really pop off. And I use black for that. So let me go ahead and start to cut in a little bit of black in there. Let me see. I'm going to use a fairly small brush right here. Let me go ahead and wet that just a little bit. And the black and white are what really allows the painting to stand off the canvas, gives it depth. So you definitely want contrast when you're working. You can see the difference already just from that little bit that I put in there. Might need a little bit more water. This is really thick. Add a little bit more water to that black because it's really, really thick. not looking too bad, is it? Yeah. You see how that black really brings out some definition in the flower? Let's add some in here. Yeah. Okay. Let me wash this brush out real quickly. All right. I'm gonna add in some. Add some lavender. How was that? Can't really see the lavender I just put in. I added a little bit of lavender to the top. Let's pop some color in right here. Add a little bit of water. This is some lavender that oh, it's showing up now. Showing up a little bit better. Just adding a little bit of lavender. And like I said, if you want to invest in some nice paints, you can simply go to Michael's. They're about the same. You get the Americana. Let me find. Okay, this is Americana, and these are about $1.25. But you can also get one called you can get Craft Smart, which is usually about 97 cents. And there's one called Apple. Well, it's Apple something. Can't remember the name of it now, but it's Apple something. And it comes, you can also get this folk art, and these are about $1 from Michael's. So you can simply go and, spend about 12 bucks, get your favorite colors are the ones that you see me use typically. And at the end of this, what I'll do is I can make a list of the paints that I'm using for this particular painting. And that way, whenever we do the paint with me, you'll have a lot of those colors. Like I said, you really only need, I think I've used maybe 12, I've only used maybe 6 colors so far, because you can also mix them, and you don't want it to look exactly like my painting. You want to, add some colors that you like and make it your own. So the idea is paint with me, but make it your own. Because the thing is, even when I'm teaching you how to draw this out, it's not going to look exactly like mine. And so I want you to do that. Find colors that you like, and we'll just play around with it as you're painting. Hi, Monique. It's good to see you. All right, so let me put this one down, and let me grab let me get some yellow. And then I don't think I put any yellow out. Definitely need a different brush for this. Yeah, so one color you don't want to have mixed with other stuff is yellow, because mixing it, you don't get the vibrancy that you want from that yellow. Let me just add some in right here. Just adding a little bit of highlight, like it's sun-kissed right here at the top. And it's still not exactly, dried the way that I would like it to be, but it's working. So when you're doing yours, if you want to bring a blow dryer along, obviously I don't use a blow dryer. But if you have a blow dryer and you like to work with it, just bring it whenever we're doing the paint with me, and then you can speed up the process by blow drying yours while you're working. Just adding a little bit of sun kiss. And yes, you can also use your fingers. Just because we're grown doesn't mean that we can't do finger painting still, right? So you see how I just added a little hint of yellow to kind of, let the edges pop just a little bit. All right, so let me actually, hold on a second. Grab this lavender. I usually use my finger to kind of smudge the edges because I don't like clean, straight lines on a painting like this. Because when you look out in, at flowers in nature, you don't see exactly perfect purple line on, well, sometimes you do, but when I'm doing this, and sometimes I like to dip my finger in water, which is what I'm going to do right now. So just dip it and then kind of help to smudge that just a little bit. A little bit more there. How's that looking? Sometimes it looks a lot better here than it does on the screen, but it's looking pretty good. It's turning out pretty good. I kind of like that. All right, let me wash some of my brushes here. The ones I'm using quite frequently. All right. If you were just coming on, I mentioned that this is a painting that I've done before on a much larger scale, much like the one that I did previously. It's like 30 inches by 30 inches. This one is 14 inches by 14. The larger one has already sold, but I decided that this would be a fairly simple one for me to do as a like a paint along with me. So that's why I'm doing that one today. Let me grab some orange here. Add in. And like I said, the way that I'm doing this, with everyone who does the paint along, you would have a completely different painting from the next person, because you can put color wherever, whatever color you want in a certain spot. I mean, you'll get a guideline from me on what I'm doing, as far as light against dark and cool colors against warm colors. And by that I mean, for example, green is a cool color. Red and orange and yellow, those are all warm colors. So you want to create contrast there. You don't want to have, like right in here where I have this orange against the red here, I'm going to break that up just a little bit, because you don't want to have the orange against red, because that's a warm color against another warm color. So that's why I added just a little bit of lavender in here, because it helps to break it up, because lavender is technically a cool color. So you want to have warm colors against cool colors, and then light against dark. So you're going to see that in some areas, like in here, where I added a little bit of the yellow to kind of break up against the darkness of that green. And I'm going to darken that up just a little bit more. So those are the kind of tips that I will give you whenever you're creating, to kind of help your painting to really, really stand out. So down here, I'm going to be putting a little bit more black or darker colors in between, so that stem really stands out. Right now, there's some purple, but I want to add a little bit, some dark brown mixed with a little bit of black right in there. Actually, let me add this wine. Let me rinse this out real quickly. Glad I had this wine color here, and this is fairly dark. So let me add that right in here. That will help that area to stand out a little bit as well. And I mentioned earlier, I also paint the sides, but I'm going to focus just on the painting for now. Let me get right here. Now that this part is dry, I can add on a little bit more detail in here. Right inside of the flower is going to be a little bit darker, because you're not getting as much sunlight in here. So I'm just adding that in. All right. Ooh, kind of like how this is looking. The thing is, even though I've painted this before, I could never duplicate a painting, because of the way that I paint. So even though I've painted this is my second time doing this, I'm still like amazed at how it's looking, So because I could compare this to the first one that I did, and it would not look anything like it. I mean, you can tell that it's based on that first one, but it's not identical, because the brush strokes are different. There's slight variation in paints that are used, and the color that is used. So yeah, I'm liking it. I'm liking it. All right, let's see. I need to develop that area just a little bit more, but I'm going to let that dry because it's getting a little bit muddy up there. So, but I'm really liking how it's turning out. You can see that there's still some white gaps right here, and what I'm going to do is at the end, I will just simply, once I'm finished, I'm going to go ahead and just finish off the edges there because I don't want to create a mess on the easel. So I just hold that and get that done. All right, let me kind of highlight some areas. Hold on a second, hold on. Let me add in some brown here because, yeah, the stem needs a little bit of brown. Let me go ahead and put that in. Oops, dipped in the wrong color. It's fine. I think I'm going to darken that up a little bit there. Grab. Yep, just to let that stand out a little bit right there. And all right, let's grab another brush. Give me a moment. Let me just rinse out the brush. All right, let me get some white. It's one thing I haven't used yet. And the white is going to help a lot of areas really stand out right now. So I need to get some more white paint. Let me just dampen this just a little bit. See how that white just allows that certain areas to really stand off the canvas? Across here. What you think? Lady Ripple, hi, how are you doing? Good to see you. Thank you. Usually I would post comments on, on the StreamYard. StreamYard allows you to do that, but the last time I did it, the comments kind of blocked the lower part of the painting. So I'm just gonna call you out, okay? All right, so this is looking really nice. And trust me, I'm like my worst critic, but I really like how this is coming out, even though usually if I wasn't doing a live painting, I would take my time and just let certain areas dry really well before I add on any other color. But I really like how this is coming out when it's kind of pushing me to add on colors, even though certain areas aren't dry. So I'm going to go ahead and add in like a little bit of fuchsia in that area. Grab this brush. Actually, let me kind of brighten up that red a little bit. Let me set this down. Oh yeah. This is, let me share with you what color red this is. This one is a little bit more expensive. This is by Liquitex Basics. I believe these are probably around $4, $5, $6, but it has lasted a long time. I think I've had this one for probably 5 years. But the color, the effect you get from it, I usually use it for highlighting because it's just so vibrant. So I put down the foundation and then I'll come in with this one and it's just so vibrant. Just add a little bit on top of that. And it really allows certain areas to stand out. You can probably see the difference right there because I can even see it. And then just come in. It just really gives some vibrancy to the painting. So if you want to invest in some Liquitex paints, I would definitely, this particular one is cadmium, I believe it's cadmium red. So cadmium red, you want to get that, and also get cadmium yellow. So those are the two that I would recommend for Liquitex. And if you like me doing these, paint along, I'm not doing a paint along right now, but if you enjoy it, then I will certainly, maybe once a month, we can pick a fairly easy painting and create it. Just adding in a little bit of pop of color. Oh, I really love how this is coming out. What do you guys think? Hi, Patricia. Thank you. It's good to see you. Yeah. I love how this is coming out. And like I said, I'm I'm like my worst critic. But I think it's because it's doing this live and doing this quickly is kind of forcing me out of my comfort zone, whereas usually I just, take my time and I let everything dry and even though there's some areas that I really like to kind of work on, like up in here, but like this. I really love how that's coming out. Yeah. So sometimes when, you know, things kind of force you to go a whole different direction. Yeah, I like it. Really like it. All right, so I'm gonna add in a little bit of purple. Where is, I don't think I poured any. This is another color that I like to work with. This one is called dioxanine purple, and it's like a royal. It's not really showing up well, but it's like a royal purple. It's really, really pretty. So I like to add in a little bit of this for highlights. So let me just grab a small brush. No, give me 1 second. Okay. Now let me get another one. All right, let me wet that. I like to wet my brushes, just soften them a little bit. All right, so let's go in here. And adding this dark, it's a much darker darker purple. So just add a little bit against that lavender that I put in, and just let that pop. Okay. Yep. All right. Yeah, just a little bit on this section here. I'm just trying to find areas that I really want to stand out. So that's what I'm doing. By adding the darker color against a lighter area, it allows that spot to really stand off though. To really stand off the canvas. Yep. Let me bring it a little bit closer so you can see, because I know that I'm painting a little far away. But I'm hoping that you can actually see it. It's looking really good. It's still wet, so there's going to be a little bit of shine. What do you think? I really like how it's looking. Definitely think I need a little bit more yellow popping in different areas. I like to have, another tip is I like to have areas of 3. So I have yellow here, a little bit of yellow there. So I'll highlight this area a little bit more, so there's a little bit more yellow that pops off there. So that's another tip, areas of 3. That's one of the things my mentor always told me, you know, to have areas of 3 or 5, but your corners, usually it's going to be like a dark area around here. So for this blue, I think I'm going to use a darker blue or mix some blue with a little bit of black. just so that the corners are a little bit darker, which then allows this to be the focal point. Okay, but I really like how it's looking, but I'm going to brighten up this area with a little bit more yellow. So I have and like I said, finger painting is fun. All right, so you see what I just did? Yeah, that yellow really allowed that section to pop up. We add a little bit more up here. And now that the lower or the foundation color has dried, I can go ahead and add a little bit more on top of that. And I'm going to add a little bit more here as well. In addition to, let me grab another brush. When I get to the detail work, that's usually when I'm using a lot of brushes, especially the smaller ones. Add a little bit more in here. All right. I can't believe I actually did this in about just over an hour, actually. Am I using acrylics? Yes, I am. I'm using acrylics. So, you know, if you work in oils, that's fine. But I started out working with oils, and then after a while I actually developed an allergy to them, and it made it hard to breathe when I was working with them. And I think it was that plus a combination of all of the cleaners, you know, that the stuff we'd have to use to clean our brushes. So I gravitated towards the acrylics, especially several years ago when I first met my mentor. He passed away a couple years ago. His name is Jerry Lanham. So when I initially met him, let me tell you the story of how we connected. I was doing a painting at this art studio. That'll give this time to kind of dry in some areas. I was doing a painting at this art studio, and one of the artists, Helen, walked up to me and she said, you know, there's a guy who's coming to do a workshop, and I think it'll be really good if you come because your style is so similar to what he's doing. And I thought, okay, I can do this. So I showed up, and from then, he was my mentor for several years. Now, he was a tough mentor. I would take some work to him, and he would look at me. He would say, "Oh, yeah, you kind of really need to work on that a little bit more," or he would say, "Oh, that is amazing." And he was the one that really made me look at my worth as an artist. I remember taking a painting there once, and we were getting ready for a show, for an exhibit. So I had all of this work, and I took it there for him to critique, and you know, we had all my price tags on there. And I remember one painting, I had a $500 price tag on it, and he looked at me. He said, "Are you nuts?" And I said, "Oh, what do you mean? Is that too much?" He said, "No, that is not nearly enough." And he took off the price tag, he ripped it up, and then he wrote another price tag that was 3 times as much and put it on my painting. And I mean, internally, my heart was like beating so fast because I was there thinking, there's no way people are going to want to spend that kind of money on my work, right? So, oh, you mostly use acrylics as well. So he was the one that really got me, you know, looking at my work, at my worth as an artist, because you know, you grew up hearing this whole idea about the starving artist, and it was just like, why is there this Why do people think that that's a good thing to be a starving artist? I mean, no, I want to be able to make money from my artwork. And he was the one that really made me critique myself and critique my basically how I valued my work. And I remember the very first painting that I sold for $1,500, and that was at least 20 years ago. And I've since gotten like 3,000 for one painting, 2,500. You know, where in the past I would have been happy having $500, but he really made me step up my game. And I would take sketches to him. I said, "Oh, Jerry, what do you think about this particular sketch?" "Oh, I love it. It's mine." And there's several images that he's taken from me, but there he's also was very generous, and he shared, you know, several of his particular drawings with me as well. So that's that's how I met my mentor, and we actually got to a point where we would do workshops together. And I remember this one time, kind of a sad moment in our relationship. This one time I looked at him and I said, "You know, Jerry, you don't look too hot." And later on that we did the workshop, you know, he said he felt fine. We did the workshop. Later on that day we went out for dinner, and we were talking as we were, it was a buffet, and as we were talking, um he looked at me, he said, "You know, I want something sweet." And we kept talking. He was on one side of the buffet and I was on the other. And he's talking, and I realized that he's, you know, collapsing, and he ended up having a major heart attack. He was considered a medical miracle because he was out for, I would say, about 10 minutes by the time I was working on him. Somebody else was working on him, and then paramedics came and took over. And um, the hospital, he was rushed to a local hospital, and they saved his life. And I tell you, that was one of the toughest nights of my life, was watching him go through that. And he lived for many years after that, but passed away a few years, a couple years ago. But he was the best. He really was an amazing artist, amazing inventor, and was a really good friend as well. So he really helped me kind of hone in on my style, because at the time that we met, I knew what I wanted my work to look like, and I wasn't there. So for those of you, if you're an artist, you're just starting out, getting a mentor does really help, right? And he was an amazing mentor, and I don't think I'll ever find another one, you know, quite like him. But I've worked on my style quite a bit, you know, working with him and over the years as well. And in addition to developing, you know, other works that I do, like sculptures. So yeah, but he's amazing. He was amazing. So this is and Jerry, if you're listening, thank you. He's he was an amazing guy. Yeah. So this is mostly dry, just a couple of areas that are in here. And what I'm going to do is just develop a little bit more white, and in here I'm going to add a little bit more black to kind of let some areas pop, because I really want to get that let me wash the brush out. You do want the black and white. Those are usually the last colors that I put on, because those really help to get your painting to stand out. Yeah, so that's the story behind my mentor and how we met, and just how he allowed me to really grow as an artist, and really, you know, find my worth as an artist. So for those of you out there who are developing some pride in being the starving artist, don't. You are worth what. Pick a number whenever you're trying to price your artwork. Whatever number pops into your head, fairly high number, stick to it, because you're only going to get the price for your artwork that you believe you're worth. Okay, so if you believe that particular painting is only worth 50, that's what you're going to get. If you believe it's worth 5,000, you're going to get it, because the right person is going to come along and say, "Oh, that work is amazing. Here's a check for 5,000." So you have to really, and I didn't get there overnight. It was, like I said, I had a mentor, and we really worked on that area for me. So I've been in several shows. I've won quite a few awards for my work. one of them actually, the one piece that I won 3 awards for, that was sold, and for quite a bit, a lot more than I thought. And it was an experiment, and even when I explained, this is really just an experiment of different, it was a mixed media piece. I said, oh, this is amazing, and it won several awards. I think the very year that I created it, it won an award, and then several years later, it won, I think, 2 more awards. So yes, I can actually say I'm an award-winning artist several times over. But it's been a journey. It has been a journey because, there were times when I was told, oh, you can't make money from your artwork. And I'm sure you've heard that before. That's another self-limiting belief that you need to get rid of. If you want to be an artist, be an artist and paint or create whatever it is that you do. Do your thing. Because there was a time when I was actually told you can't create, you can't make any money from your art. And if you believe that, they're going to prove it to be right. So you have to make the decision. Do I want to make money from my artwork, or am I going to let what somebody else think of me to keep me from fulfilling my dream? Right. I'm just adding in a little bit more black to kind of highlight this area. Just allowing the stem to pop out just a little bit more. You see what the black does? It just really allows the flower to really pop off the canvas, really become the focal point. It's getting to a place where I'm going to say, it's done. Let me just, there are a couple areas that I want to work with up here, or, work on there to darken those just a little bit but for the most part, I think the flower itself is finished. What you guys think? Yeah, I love it. I love it. I love it. Just get that centerpiece. And I think I'm going to hang this. I'm going to take this with me to the Rose Bar restaurant today and hang this one as well. I do have the, what I'm going to do is on the back, I drill a hole here, a hole there, and I put in some little screw eyes, I think is what they're called, and hang a piece of wire as well. So it'll be ready to go today. I tend to keep those that material right handy, but I'm going to go ahead and darken up the corners. Let me get a darker blue. Actually, yeah, I think I need some more blue. I'm going to use some ultramarine. That's another color which I love to use. Ultramarine blue by Americana. Oops. Just right now. Yeah, see how this is darkened up just a little bit more? Yeah. Yeah, that blue allows that flower to really pop. So let me just get over here. Yeah. And I think I'm going to stop there. I'm going to let those corners dry just a little bit more. Probably add in some black in the corners to let that pop out even more. But go ahead and stop there. So what do you guys think? This is going to be the one that we'll do the paint along with me, because I think this is simple enough to do, abstract enough to do that nobody's really worried about, well, mine doesn't really look like yours. So you can draw a flower, a very abstract flower, and then I will guide you along with the color choices and that sort of thing. So I'm going to leave this as it is for now, let it dry a little bit more. I'll add in a little bit more black around the corners. And then once it's completely dry, I will get some hanging apparatus on there. And I'm hoping that it's going to be ready by, because I've got to deliver at 4:30 and it's now 12:30. So hopefully everything is dry completely by then and I can add the hanging stuff on there to go and deliver this one in addition to the other 5 that I will be dropping off. So if you were not here earlier, I mentioned I'm going to be putting up a small exhibit for sale at the Rose Bar Restaurant of Tampa. So if you live in the Tampa Bay area, please go ahead and check that out. I will post the address in there, or you can just simply look it up online. It's a fairly new restaurant, but it's a fairly nice place. So, and they work with a lot of local artists to exhibit your work there. So, but do tell me, what do you think about the painting that we did today? Is this something that will be simple enough for you to do as a paint along? Because this is the one that I'm looking at. And all you'll need to do, I mentioned the materials at the beginning of the live stream, so you can go back and just simply check it out. But the material, you can just simply get a piece of foam core from the Dollar Tree for $1. And if you can use the center if you want to just use that one piece, or you can cut it. It's pretty challenging to cut the foam core unless you have like a really, really good blade. So I would just, use the foam core and just measure it out really well. Do your 14 by 14 in the center so your painting is centered on the board, and then paint on there. And then you can just put it up on your wall as is, unless you want to go ahead and get it framed. But oh, hi, Dina. Good luck. Hoping they sell quickly. Yes, me too. Thank you, Patricia. It's my Auntie Dina who's watching as well. So I'm going to go ahead and call this finished, except for the corners. Once they're dry, I'll add in a little bit more black there. Because like I said, if I add in some here, sometimes it kind of creates a mud. And I don't want, but I really like how it looks. And it definitely looks a lot different than my original one. But Auntie Dina said, hope, trust, and pray that you get all your paintings sold quickly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. So this is it. And I will put the materials, and I will let you know whenever I'm going to do I want to say maybe 2 weeks. Do you think 2 weeks is quick enough for everybody to get the materials together? I mean, you can literally go to the Dollar Tree and get some of these. And if you really want to invest in some other colors, go to Michael's. Michael's has lots of different paints. Americana. Oh, Apple Barrel. Apple Barrel is the one I was trying to remember. But the 3 that I like to use are Americana, Craft Smart, and Apple Barrel. And you're looking at Americana being maybe $1.25. And Craft Smart is usually about 97 cents, and Apple Barrel is usually about $1 as well. So you can, and I'll put a list of the colors that you may want to get. But if you're not quite there yet, just simply get you some paints from the Dollar Tree and work with those. The idea is to come and paint along and have fun. Okay. And if you create a masterpiece and you sell it, that's good too. But the idea is to just have fun. So I'm going to give about 2 weeks, and then we can, I'll schedule it and I'll create the event, and then you guys can just go in and sign up for that. All right. But I think we're going to go ahead and stop there. I know there were so many people on watching. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. And if you enjoyed it, I really love to get your feedback. And I'm going to do, let me show you the next one that I have in mind. This one is a little bit more difficult. I found a drawing that I did some time ago. This is a trumpet player. So this is, I originally had it drawn on a board, but I went ahead and I redrew it onto a 16 by, I think this is a 16 by 20 canvas. It's on pencil right now, so you can't really see clearly. But this is the next one that I will be doing as a live stream. That one is a little bit more challenging as a paint along, but once we get the hang of doing something like this, and then maybe a simple lady portrait, then we can move on to that one. So we'll kind of build on our skills. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and sign off here. Thanks again for being here with me, for spending some time with me today. I appreciate all of you, because I know that, you know, you're giving up your time to come and basically watch me have fun, right? But in a couple of weeks, I will I will post the information for you. Then in a couple of weeks, we will do that paint along, and you'll see whenever the event is posted. All right, so I will see you all again real soon, and wish me all the best at the Rose Bar Restaurant of Tampa. All right, love you all.